Okay, so we're gonna call it Teacher Life.
Yeah, Teacher Life.
Okay, so welcome to the Teacher Life podcast, a podcast hosted by two teachers. One teaches Spanish.
Hi, I'm Kate. I teach Spanish.
And the other teaches film. So Teacher Life is a podcast for teachers, students, parents of students, basically for anyone who's ever set foot in a school. So
or is planning to one day.
Or is planning to one day. So yeah, we're gonna try to cover an eclectic array of topics, and yeah, so I think the first episode should be about our first day of school.
Oh, yikes. I remember those.
You've got more years on me, so it's kind of fresh in my head. Do you remember your first day of school?
Well, I remember my first year of school, like, pretty clearly. The first day has blurred out a little bit, but I do have some memories. I remember just, like, all the intense planning beforehand, like, trying to make sure everything was going to be perfect for the first day. So I remember, like, coming in over the summer and making sure my bulletin boards were pristine and like my desks were all like perfect rows. And of course, at the end of the first day, everything's trash. But so I like just doing everything ahead of time to like make sure it was going to be just like the best, perfect, like nothing could go wrong. And really, the first day kind of went by in a blur because all you can do is like go over the syllabus and the rules and like tell them your name, and you don't remember any of their names at all.
Did you give them work on the first day of school?
I think we did some kind of like student interest survey, I think, usually like something to just kind of like get to know you. And like I had copies of my syllabus and everything. I felt mad official doing that. What else? I'm pretty sure I got mistaken for a student a few times, and that felt really great.
by other students or by like coworkers?
Well, I hadn't really been introduced to like all of the staff, like officially. I think I had just like waved hello at a faculty meeting the day before the first day the kids were there. So yeah, I was like in the teacher lounge getting my stuff together, like super nervous and everything. And one of the teachers looked over and was like, Are you lost? Like, are you supposed to be in here?
You're in the wrong part of town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're in the wrong part of town. So you had in-room experience prior to your first day of school? Like TA or subbing or...
Not subbing, but I had done a semester of student teaching, of course, where I had two different cooperating teachers who were really great. And they like taught me a lot of things that I used in my first year. And then before that I'd had like observation hours and some like practicum hours where I had taught like a little bit here and there. But this was my first time. Like I do remember my first few weeks teaching, just looking around at all the kids and being like, they're doing this because I told them to. Like, they'd all be like, the first time I gave a quiz and the room was silent and they were all working and I was just sort of like in shock. Like, I made this and I put it in front of them. Now they all are doing it. That's like the power. This could be anything, but no. Yeah, so I had been in the classroom, but it was my first time being like the only adult in the room, because I'd always had a cooperating teacher, or like somebody, a professor, someone who was sort of like, even if I was leading or like teaching the whole time, they were still in there like taking notes and things.
And doing all that.
Yeah, so it probably was my first day of school. And this is now my 7th year teaching, so it's a few years back. But that was probably the first time that I was like the sole like administrator of the classroom, which is nerve-wracking.
So like what have you like stopped doing since the very first time, or like what are you like any tips for like other teachers are about to start like their first day? Like what suggestions do you have for them?
I mean, I always rebel a little bit against the whole like you should never smile before Christmas or anything. Like, I always feel like, you know how they say that like you should come off like super strict and everything. I think I probably have started being like more stern a little bit in the start of the year just to like kind of establish the way things are going to be. But you can definitely like still be a person and be yourself and everything and do that. But I think mainly like the whole like everything is going to be like just perfect, and if I only plan like even more thoroughly, like I can control everything, like I've like let that go because you can like have everything in like perfect straight lines and like exactly, and then there's just always going to be things that come up, or like, oh, this kid got moved to this class now, or like, oh, you have a brand new, like the schedule's changed out of nowhere. So like if you're very rigid, or you're like, we're going to get through this and this, and even if you plan it all out, like it's never going to go the way you think it will. So I think like, especially in the beginning when you put all this work into these like very specific lessons that you're going to teach, and then eventually like when you have your own classroom and you realize like you can shuffle things around, you can toss this whole unit, you can maybe come back to it later, like you have a vision and you know what you're going to get through, but it doesn't have to be just like, oh no, we didn't get through everything today and so now everything's ruined. You know, and you get a much better sense of like how long things will take. I think that was like the first year I would be like so ambitious in what I was going to do in like my 42 minutes of class. And then it was like, oh, they needed, 10 more minutes to figure out the direction. So we didn't get that far. So I think that's something that gets a lot easier, like the more times you do it.
No, yeah, that's true. That makes sense. That makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
True.
What other things? There's certain things that I did, like my first few years, like with teaching Spanish, there's certain things I just did because like all the other teachers did it, or sort of it was just like expected.
Yeah.
Like the first few years I had like, there was just like a norm that we would always have them like pick a Spanish name like at the start of class.
And that's what you'd call them, like, for the rest of the year?
Yeah. Some of them would, like, kind of, like, quit using it. And then other kids, like, for the full, sometimes even, like, 2 or 3 years, kids that have multiple times, it was, like, they would always have that name. And, like, I was the only one that ever called them that. Like, the other kids didn't even call them that. But that was, like, they'd sign their papers with that name and stuff sometimes. And so
did it have to be like similar to their?
It didn't have to be. If they were stuck or they like didn't want to come up with one, you'd be like, oh well, Thomas, you can be Tomas or like whatever. But sometimes they'd just pick something that was just like kind of interesting sounding, like Cristobal or like Guillermo or like whatever kind of like it tickled their fancy.
Wait, was your first school wasn't like gifted and talented like it is now?
No, my first school was like, it was a rural like high school in Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Must be nice.
Public school. But
must be nice.
honestly, like it was a good place to sort of start out and like learn the ropes and kind of just figure out how schools worked in general, I'd say. Yeah.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm. And you like, how many years have you been teaching now?
This will be the end of year 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a tadpole.
So tell us about your first day.
My first day. So I did not start off in Kentucky. I started off in East Orange, and it's East Orange. So it's next to Newark. Have you seen Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer?
No.
So Michelle Pfeiffer though.
Yeah.
So
I think you've mentioned this movie to me before.
She starts teaching in this school, and it's like everyone's in a gang, stuff like that. Like my first day though, because I was working at a charter school, and then I interviewed for this job, and they didn't call me back, so I started working at this charter school in Jersey City, and I was like, Jersey City, that's awesome, I love Jersey City. So school starts, and in October, I get a call from East Orange, and they asked me to come in ASAP. And I'm like, okay, so it would be, I think, more fortuitous for me to work in a public school over a charter school. However, I gave 2 weeks notice instead of just like straight up quitting the charter school. I gave them 2 weeks notice. And so I didn't start teaching. I didn't get my students until November. So September, October, they had a sub for like that whole amount of time. So my first day I walked in, and the sub who they've had, he was like, I'll stay with you and I'll introduce you to the students. And so I'm like, all right, fine. For me, I was just kind of like, I feel like I should just do it myself.
Yeah, like establish that authority on your own.
Yeah, because there was like, this room was crazy. It was like, I walked in the room. It's a massive classroom in the back of the building, and there was a couch in the back, and like there were kids like chilling on the couch, and like kids like sitting on top of tables,
like
and
mayhem.
like like there was like two kids like in the corner just kind of like reading a book and like trying to like just live out the 43 minutes, and like I'm in there, and like some of the kids are like, yo, is that the new teacher? Yeah, is that the new teacher? Yeah. And like the sub is like this dude, and he's like, all right, be quiet. You have a real teacher now. And like everyone's just like not listening. It's just loud. It's loud.
This was a film class?
Yeah, like it was film. Good,
film one?
Film. This had to have been film one.
Okay.
Like this had to have been film one. Like it was me and this older film teacher, and he was retiring. And he was just going to be out the door, and he was just like, but yeah, it was a film class, and they hadn't learned anything. And so my first day, I just took it as a day of me introducing myself and just a free period afterwards. Like if me now,
that's daring.
Yeah, if me now were to talk to me then, no, like no free periods, but yeah, the sub just kind of made it worse. So I was like, dude, it's cool. Let me give it a shot. So then I like put my hands like behind my back. Like I just kind of like stood there with that stance I do, like that butler stance. And I was just like, then the whole room just silence. And then they all looked towards me. And I think it was more of just like, one, I'm crazy. And like two, it just was like, oh, finally. We're going to have like a teacher.
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, I'm a teacher. I'm going to teach you. This is me. Like, I can't remember word for word what I said, but man, like I would never want to start teaching in like November or October. Like September is when you need to get them in September.
They're in that mode of like, it's the first day of school. I'm going to figure out all my teachers and everything. Yeah.
It took me a minute. Like if I wasn't my age, I think it would have taken me a lot longer to kind of like get them. But like I subbed for like a year. I did the charter school. So I had like some kind of, a long-term sub. So I had some kind of idea of like classroom management, building rapport. I threw at that couch. Like I threw it out. Like, and then like years later, I was kind of like, I wish I kept that couch. It would have been like a great prop for the classes and stuff like that. We got Brazil in here. Okay, Brazil. Yeah, so that's my first day. It was a wash. It was just like me introducing myself. Rest of the period is yours. And then maybe for like, I think maybe they just had a free period for like 2 weeks. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had that experience a little bit like my first year at my current school where I came in the middle of the year and they had a sub for a few weeks. But
I'm sure you taught.
On the first day, I mean, I was doing everything I could to learn, okay, what have they learned until now? Like, what unit are they in? So that the very first day I could come in and be like, okay, get your textbooks out. Like, we're getting to work. But I know that same like look of like, oh, good. Like, there's so much relief when they were like, oh, we have like a teacher now. Yeah. Like they will complain and like buck against it, but it's like they need like that structure of
at
like,
the end of the day.
Oh, okay, it's not just gonna be chaos and
especially the quiet kids. They love having a teacher show up now for like those periods of the day. But like now, first day of school for me, you said you give work. Like I give like the get to know them thing.
I'll usually do like something. I mean, just like background information stuff, just so that they're not.
So
like,
do you hit the
sitting.
books like the very next day?
Well, in upper level Spanish, like we usually start with review of some type. So actually, what I like to do on the first day is have them like just like start speaking a little bit, like introduce themselves, talk about like maybe what they did over the summer, something like that, where they at least have to like say some words of Spanish.
Okay, yeah.
So they can't do that thing of like
For Spanish 2 or just
any class where they've like learned anything before.
So Spanish 1, do you have them talk about their summers in Spanish?
No, because they can't. But Spanish 1, what I would do is just teach them how to say like my name is, and then have them do like a little activity where they have to introduce themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just so that like on the first day they're like, okay, this is what it feels like to speak Spanish. Like
okay.
A little bit,
yeah.
I mean, there's not like a lot of time the first day, and you do have to go through like all the rules and the expectations and all that stuff, but just something so they're like get a little bit of a sense of like what the class will be
and how you are.
Exactly. Yes.
That's
no
like
nonsense.
Day 1 is like who are you, and like because so many teachers don't establish that.
No, day 1 it's like, no, you do not get up until like the bell rings. Like you're not packing up early. You're not like no, because if you allow that on day 1, if you kind of have that cavalier attitude of like, oh well, we're done,
it becomes the norm.
Exactly. And then you have to fight it.
I don't have them speak Spanish, but I have they get up, they go around the room, say who they are and what their favorite movie is and like why. And then I have them fill out these surveys. And it's a test grade, so if I don't get it back the next day, you're like failing the first quarter already. So it's like allergies, what they want to learn, what job they'd have if they had to work in the film industry, like stuff like that. And then I hand out the contracts. So I give them contracts that they and their parent and guardians have to sign with cell phone numbers, text messaging,
I do the
like
same
all
thing
that
too.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so like I think now, like my first year, I think I told you like we studied genres for like 2 months doing genres, and then now I'm just and then the guy who wrote the curriculum was like, nah man, like you don't gotta follow the curriculum, like genres, like you just gotta they know what an action movie is. It should take like a day to do all the genres. And I'm like, in your curriculum it says 5 weeks. Like, so I'm just like, what are we, why, what is this? So, but like, yeah, there should be no day off. Like,
exactly.
I feel like in school, there should be no days off. Like that doesn't mean that they have to be hard days, but like,
Yeah. That's like chalk up on my list of most hated questions. Like when a kid is gone and they're like, do we do anything yesterday? It's like, no, you are always like, there's always something you're doing. There's
you're in high school. Like I'm sure there's something you don't know how to do that we can fix that.
Yeah.
We could definitely fix that.
Yeah. No, going back to what you were talking about with like giving a grade on the first day, I definitely I'll tell them, you're going to complete the survey, but it is going to count for a grade just for like doing it.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, we're starting off easy. This is like a softball. Like you should easily be able to complete a survey. So like everybody should start with 100, but it's like, but you do have to do it.
So it's on you if you don't, turn it in.
Yeah.
And then but sometimes you'll still get those kids who are just like straight up bitter towards you, and it's just like it was an easy A or an easy F. Like take your pick.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I think like going back to what we were talking about with like establishing norms, just showing and then I'll they can see, oh, I got credit for what I did.
Yeah.
And so I think just like having from the beginning like this very clear tie between like the work that you do and the grade that you have, like I think if that was like established early on, that helps for the rest of the year.
Well, that actually reminds me, I had to do my grades for 11:59 p.m. and it's 9:58. But in 15 seconds, we'll have hit our 20-minute mark.
Oh well, there's no realer teacher life than that.
So this was the first episode of Teacher Life. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take questions. We have, lots of things to talk about.
In the future, we'll take questions.
Yeah.
Well, because it's late.
Yeah.
So,
No, not right now.
well, not late for us, but yeah, you can't really see what I see on my board here. but yeah. So I mean, we could talk for like 20 more minutes, but I don't want to edit.
Yeah. No, we'll save it for the next episode.
Yeah. Okay. So Brian.
I'm Kate.
And this was Teacher Life. Thank you for watching and listening.
All right. Till next time.
Till next time. And then here I'll put like the bell ringing or something to say that. Yeah.